system approaching perfection.
We'll walk deeper into the belly of the beast if it means I'm able to...
And welcome to the Crypto Show, the most decentralized show on the planet. This is the Digital Cash Evolution right here in Phoenix, Arizona, although my decentralization actually puts me in Las Vegas. But part of us is still in Phoenix, Arizona. Doug, are you on the line there, Doug?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's right. We've got Doug from Phoenix Crypto, who is your go-to source for learning everything basics about crypto. He's got multiple ATMs all around town so that you'll have the services. And his ATMs are, unlike any other ATM provider in Phoenix, Arizona. He is actually in Phoenix, and he maintains his machines all the time. So definitely look for the Phoenix Crypto machines so that you don't have to go there. I've been around Vegas before, and I tried to cash out quite a bit of Bitcoin. It took me all day. I had to go to like 10 different places just to try to cash out a couple $1,000s. Now, with Phoenix Crypto, those guys are on the ball. You can get what you need, and if you can't get it from the machine, you just give them a call, and they'll help you out. Go to phoenixcrypto.com. You have any other information, Doug, about how people can find out about Phoenix Crypto?
No, just visit the website. We're also on coinatmradar.com. But I just got to say, man, we just got finished with the Jackalope Festival, and you get to run out to Vegas and have a blast, and I have to come back here and be the responsible one and just listen and hear the stories of you guys out there partying and having a blast. And how's that fair?
Oh, no, I didn't go to Vegas. I left Jackalope Festival, and I went over to the Salton Sea in California and went to check out Slab City. Wow. Yeah, they can have that place, but it's a good idea, I guess, if that's what you're into. Definitely go and check out Salvation Mountain. That's an interesting site. And then I went to L.A. to the Blockchain Beach conference yesterday, and now I'm in Vegas today, so I've been nonstop on the road.
And I'm stuck here in the hot, melting Phoenix area, and you guys are... but no, it's great. My partner, Mr. E, he's out there with you.
Mr. E is sitting in studio, and if you're watching us on Facebook through the Crypto Shows page, you will see his back. And you can... Are you running a live feed, too, as well, through Phoenix Crypto?
Yes, at the Phoenix Crypto Facebook page. If you want to... join the live feed or broadcast and ask your questions on there, comments. I'll read them on air. We can answer questions. You can also call in studio, 602-277-KFNX, 602-277-5369, and we can answer your crypto questions.
And speaking of crypto, the reason why we are here in Vegas is DEF CON is coming up, which is an interesting hacker conference, and this is all the latest in hacker information, just what's going on in computers today, the things that you need to be aware of so to keep yourself safe. And Eijah, who has been in studio with us before, who is also a Phoenix native, is here with me. And tell us about Promether. What is your plan? I know you were running along with McAfee to be president. No?
I wouldn't necessarily say he was going to be president. But yeah, he was a business colleague of mine. So as you guys know, you probably know me by now. My name is Eijah. At least that's how the hacker community knows me. My real name is Eric Anderson. And most recently, I've started a new company called Promether. And Promether is all about bringing privacy-focused solutions, reusable generic infrastructure components that any application or decentralized network can use to not only connect a decentralized network, but completely secure it and anonymize it and prevent any type of surveillance. And so that's really our focus, is to anonymize and secure the world and do it in a very open source way that allows anybody to be free. So the goal is, can we stop governments and companies? Can we stop companies from collecting our information and mining it and reselling it and making billions off of us? And can we also stop governments from doing the same and treating us all as criminals? And the answer to that is yes, we can. It just takes the right amount of code and the right amount of focus and the right amount of funding.
Let's talk about what's going on recently with Twitter, Facebook, Google, all these things. It starts with Alex Jones. Maybe you don't agree with Alex Jones. Not everybody does, but it's expanded to Ron Paul and all these other different things. Kim.com is a guy who's trying to solve this problem. What do you think about what he's doing? And do you have a solution for that?
Well, so we do. Kim.com is a friend of mine. He is a business associate and a friend of mine. Very nice guy. I think he had a very difficult problem with the Department of Justice a few years back, and it just starting from the Obama era really hasn't left him alone. Whether you agree with what he did or not, or whether you believe he's completely innocent or not, he is. There is
right. Let's put it this way: recite the pinned post on Kim.com's Twitter page.
Recite it. So it basically says, I never lived there, I never did business there, I never made any money there, and they're taking everything I ever owned. That's pretty good summary for not having seen it in months. But is it right for the U.S. government to do that? So whether or not you agree with the U.S. government or you agree with Kim.com, the question of privacy and human rights really comes into play, and that is, can technology protect us from those, whether the governments or companies, those in powerful places who wish to abuse their power and assert their authority to harm us and control us? And that question is fundamental to liberty and human rights, and that's what we believe at Promether. So we want to create technology that allows people to be free, however they define that.
Go ahead. Did you have something to add?
No, I was just agreeing with everything Eric says. I mean, those are the things that drew me into the project. I think that the last thing he said, that privacy is a fundamental right of every human being, is one that hits hard at hits straight to my heart. And that's really what drew me in the beginning.
And by the way, everyone, this is Rishan, who is not only our business manager for Promether, a trusted friend of mine, but he was our first seed investor for Promether. So he has thrown his full weight and a substantial amount of his personal savings into the company because he believes it. And he's pouring his own company into it as well. And so he's here to talk with us today about privacy as well.
I have a question. So you had Demon Saw. That's what you were working on with McAfee. How does Promether differ from that, or is it just the extension of Demon Saw? And kind of give the basis of what the idea was behind Demon Saw.
So the idea with Demon Saw, I had when I was making Grand Theft Auto 5 in Edinburgh, Scotland. The idea was I couldn't access my files. It was really a simple idea. I was in Edinburgh for 9 months in a foreign country, a very inviting, welcoming country. Scotland's a beautiful country. But I couldn't get my data. I couldn't get my chats, my files. And if I tried to get the data, it wasn't convenient. And so I thought, well, even if I could get my data, if I subscribed to Dropbox, and if I could get my data, how could it be protected? Would people know that I'm transferring files over the Atlantic? Would they know what I'm doing? Would they try to block me? Just trying to use Netflix was region specific. So the Netflix shows I had in the UK were different. Some were funny, like The In-Betweeners. It's a very funny show. But a lot did not appeal to me. So the idea was, how could we create a decentralized network that allowed us to transfer content?
And we'll talk about that on the other side. And take back the power of your money. Start using cryptocurrencies and different technologies on how to keep your files safe and just your information safe completely. So Eijah, tell us more about Promether.
All right. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to share with you a dirty little secret. This is going to sound a little like Alex Jones. I apologize in advance for that.
But no one will know anything about Alex Jones because he's not on any kind of media anymore other than the radio.
So I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret that governments and companies don't want us to know. And yeah, it sounds cliche, but it's true. As a software engineer, hacker, game programmer, I've been doing this for over 20 years. The power to completely subvert and evade the ability of governments and companies to mine our data, collect metadata, log our data, surveil us, and sell us for the highest dollar, the power that we have to subvert and evade all this is within our hands now. The technology and the ability for us to completely be free of any sort of surveillance and logging and any sort of electronic slavery, we have that power and authority now. The code, it's merely a matter of ones and zeros that can be written now to totally set us free. And you might think, well, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a programmer, I'm not a hacker. What can I do? Here's the thing. One individual not only can change the world, but one individual can completely rewrite the rules of future societies and rewrite the history of the past, future, and present. Let me give you an example. A few years ago when I created Demon Saw, merely as a hobby, merely as a proof of concept idea, I created it to see if decentralized networks could also be anonymous. And it worked. And for 4 years, that product has been out there. It's open source. It's available for free. I never made $1 on it. In fact, it cost me tens of thousands of dollars to develop it. It's out there, and in 4 years, we've received 0 DMCA notices, and it works in China today. China has never blocked it. Well, now, why not? If they did block it, we could simply modify the code in a few minutes and break their blocking again. Because it's not impossible to do this. Now, why don't we have technologies that enable us not to be surveilled? I'll tell you what, here's the other side of that dirty secret. We have the ability. It's possible, but it's not profitable. And that's the true, honest reality, is companies make more money treating us as numbers. In fact, we're less than numbers to companies. At least if we have a number, it's our unique identity. With companies, we're not even numbers. We're merely the aggregation of metadata that makes them money. If you think about it. And if we stop making them money, we're useless and worthless to them. And so companies make billions of dollars off of us as assets. Of course, they don't want privacy-focused solutions. There's no money in privacy. Well, why is Promether different? I'll tell you why it's different. It's different because of crowdfunding. It's different because of ICOs. It's different because the public is finally getting involved in the funding of corporations that can think different and have the finances to hire people who think different and deliver products that are different. It's because of ICOs, because of crowdfunding, that Promether can build out this solution, this software for you guys.
And the show is the Crypto Show, and it's about cryptocurrency, and we're trying to reach out to the public in Phoenix, Arizona, who don't really know anything about cryptocurrencies, how to set up wallets. And we would invite you out to come to Classic Crust Pizza. And Doug, give us the location of Classic Crust Pizza.
Okay, that's at Cave Creek and Cactus Road in North Phoenix. I'll be there probably around 5:30 to 6, and should be there to around 8 or so, maybe a little later. But feel free to come on down and get your questions answered, chat about crypto, learn some, everything you never knew you wanted to know about crypto.
And Doug will help you set up a wallet, get you some crypto, and the special thing about Classic Crust Pizza is you can use just about any cryptocurrency there to purchase your pizza, your beer, whatever you want. So it's the central hub basically for Phoenix, for people who want to know something about cryptocurrency. Even if there's not a meeting, you just go in there, ask for Alex. Alex will tell you, what's what about cryptocurrency. But and speaking about that, how did cryptocurrency help you get your product off the ground? Because cryptocurrency is sponsoring or funding a lot of these different products that are privacy centric. I mean, this is kind of the way that the public is going to get their freedom back.
Absolutely.
And we're, like we talked about in the beginning with social networks, there you have Steemit, where you can actually go there and the whole protocol is on the blockchain, so no one can take it down. You can put a video up on DTube. No one can censor that. You're being paid little micropayments or whatever by people upvoting you. People who post things make money. People who upvote you make money. So it's not like Facebook where they're just taking and selling you.
Right.
You're actually being paid by a blockchain for participating in this social network. Where do you see these social networks going?
Well, I think the greatest contribution that the blockchain has ever done has nothing to do with solving the double spend problem. It doesn't even have anything to do with solving the Byzantine generals problem. What the blockchain has done was it enables decentralized networks to achieve an entire new level of greatness that we've never been able to achieve before. If you look at SETI at home, Folding at home, BitTorrent, MadeSafe, Freenet, all of these decentralized efforts have failed, and they've failed miserably because the good intentions of the founding members at some point of time reaches its outer limit and collapses in and of itself because the network can't grow beyond that event horizon of altruism. what the blockchain has done, even though proof of work is a terrible model and it's not scalable, what the blockchain has done is reaffirmed faith in humanity and enabled the future success of decentralized networks by tying in the element of selfishness and greed. And let me explain. Miners get paid. I make sure my nodes stay online because if not, I don't get coin. That aspect right there is going to set humanity free, because decentralized networks are now on fire and are only going to get brighter and more hot and more powerful. And this is the future.
Well, I agree with you. Don't you think that there's going to be pushback? There's going to be resistance to this? Because I see a beautiful horizon too, but I also see cataclysm waiting.
There's always going to be a fight. In fact, the government is a bunch of bullies. The government likes to flex its muscles, likes to position itself in line, likes to cut ahead of us, likes to slap us down. There's a gentleman here, and Danny's waiting for me to do a segment. Curtis.
Let's talk. Curtis is here, and he has a book out, and he can talk about things, kind of in the capacity of the book. But what his book is about is actually one of the things. There's actually two things that gave Bitcoin its first kind of like real push in value, and one was Satoshi Dice, which was a gambling network that allowed people to just gamble, and then there was the Silk Road, and this was an eBay type site, and it was actually it was considered nefarious by the government, but not by most people, because it allowed people who were selling things to get off the street and not have to have that interaction where there was danger in buying drugs off the street or whatever. But that was it was thought of very nefariously. But like in your book, I don't know if you even put that in your book, but there were some numbers that you and I had talked about that were actually comparative to, say, Craigslist.
Oh, yes, yeah. When we're talking about stuff on the Silk Road, 99% of the people that have heard about it think, oh, that's a drug site. Well, in reality, if back when I was involved, obviously nobody can be involved with that anymore unless you're with another one of the dark sites. And just,
this is Curtis Green. He was actually an admin on the site, and we'll get into a little bit more about this later. So this is very... not very many people have actually interviewed you.
Nobody has.
I've had you guys are getting the first.
Many a shot. Trust me. I've been CNN, Headline News, Discovery Channel. Rolling Stone wanted to do a big story on it. I said nope.
But guess what? The Crypto Show got it instead.
Well, crypto is my passion. Obviously, I've been into it since late 2010. Which not very many people can say that they've been in it that long. And that's what kind of got me over to Silk Road. And obviously in my book I go into depth because the book is more about me and my journey, more about the Silk Road. It's about the overstepping of the government and what they did. It's a story about what I went through for 5 years, and it was literal hell. And the government telling me I'm having, going to be murdered, and witness protection was brought up, and all this other stuff that I look back and I don't know how much was true, how much was false, how much was made up. 20% this, but yeah, I'll talk about it in a second.
Okay, yeah, so coming back, we'll get into that, but I want to have Curtis kind of make the comparison between what the Silk Road actually was in numbers of nefarious products compared to, let's say, Craigslist or even the back page. And welcome back to the Crypto Show. And Doug, let's go ahead and give out that information again. Doug is with Phoenix Crypto, and he will be out there tonight to help all of the newbies set up their wallets, get some cryptocurrency, and learn all the basics about that. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, come on down. It's at Classic Crust Pizza at Cave Creek and Cactus Road, and I will be there around 6 o'clock, and I should be there probably past 8 a little bit, and come on down and learn about crypto.
Other than Classic Crust, I want to invite everybody next year to the Jackalope Freedom Festival. We had a great time there. Yes. We sponsored it and sponsored the Porta Johns and whatnot. I just wanted to say, you say that I'm having fun. But actually, I'm driving out here with no AC from Phoenix in the middle of the heat. So
why would
it's not
you
that
even?
hot here.
Why would you?
I don't think it is. It wasn't on my drive over here.
you have AC.
Danny,
yeah,
you
I do
had
have
plenty
AC.
of finding. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, the Jackalope Festival was fun, especially like dealing with cryptocurrencies at the Jackalope Festival was fantastic. I had to climb a mountain to send a transaction, but that was okay.
Right.
Yeah, we had to walk up the mountain once a day just to tend to business, and we'd get up there, and as soon as you got in range, the phone starts blowing up from all the problems. But yeah, so it was nice to have peace and quiet for about 23 hours a day.
Crypto
Yeah.
cardio.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get back into what we were talking about with the Silk Road. And Curtis, the numbers that I was talking about that you told me about, I thought they were amazing because I thought that the Silk Road was just this, nefarious drug site that only sold just killer drugs.
Well,
what's the real deal?
Well, one of the things that DPR, his vision was to basically free us from government. So we weren't so dependent on every little thing, and he wanted to see us to be able to survive without coercion and all this other stuff. And what really irks me is
Truly free market.
Yeah. Well, what irks me is on all these charges, every one of them on Ross Ulbricht. I'm not saying he's DPR. They charge him with what are all the charges? The computer hacking. What else?
CCE, continuous criminal enterprise, is what actually gave him the life sentences.
Yes. Well,
which that could be anything. I mean, that's happened to people who have gone and on hot check sprees. If they were doing this with 4 or 5 people, that's CCE, and they could end up with life over that.
It's when the government came banging down my door, literally. It was the most horrific experience anybody can go through, and so if anybody experiences that, I think they would see that not all. I'm sure a lot of people in law enforcement are good for the most good, and they want to, but there's some bad apples out there, and I unfortunately ran into a couple real bad apples. And
you write about this in the book, but what I really want people to know is the difference on those numbers. Those numbers just blew me away when you told me this.
Yeah, back when I went through it, the first thing when they say guns were on the site, there were 0 guns on that site. There was another site called the Armory, taken down I think 2 months. Because I don't know what the reasons were, but there was no hacking, no selling of hacking material, because the goal was to not, as long as you did not hurt a third person, that theft of material, anything that was stolen, it was one of my jobs to take that stuff down, and we were taking down stuff all day long. And to keep that from the bad stuff that went against the vision, and so but the government says all you would think about Silk Road is it's a drug site. It was far from a drug site. I sold books on there. I sold T-shirts. A friend, I guess I don't know him personally, but he had a site that he sells. He lives in Africa, and he goes to bazaars and sells suits. He sold them on Silk Road, and so one day I went through the site. Of course, they're going to put everything on the front to get people's attention.
Yeah. If you were watching NBC and whatever, it was fantastic. They showed these pictures of needles and drugs and everything, and this is what's on the Silk Road.
Oh, it's so evil! It's so evil.
But the real number.
Oh, we're talking the number of drugs was very minute. It was like 25 to 30%, and out of the drugs, 78% was marijuana, which is now legal in 30 states, or going to be in some sort.
28.
Yeah. So the grand majority was granted, okay, if you want to consider marijuana, you put it in that category. But they don't say that. They say, look at all the heroin, look at all the cocaine, look at all the this, look at all of that. Well, that's a false narrative. While there was that there, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay this at all. While it was there, it was, what am I trying to say? It definitely wasn't the crux of the site. They just happened to be on there.
The drug war has failed anyway.
Yeah. I wish I had the numbers on my hand, but since the war on drugs, that Nixon started in, I think, 71, 72, they have spent 140. I don't know if it's in the trillions, billion. It's a huge number, but the number what I'm trying to get to is they spent 60% of the amount of the war on drugs as they do on education in the United States.
What does it say?
Nothing. They're just filling up prisons with a lot of nonviolent people that just want to do, if they want to do to their own body. I mean, that's my opinion. If you want to do something to your own body, great. My opinion is, as long as if you drink, hey, go for it. I personally don't drink, but if you want to drink, go drink. But if you get in a car and drive and you kill somebody, then the sympathy goes out the window. And so we'll go back to DPR's. As long as you don't hurt a third person, you should be able to do what you want to do. And doesn't that make sense? I mean, to me, it's common sense, and the government is not thinking with any common sense. What they're doing is they control the drug trade. We all know about the Contra affair. We all know about all these other things. I think it was almost a let's get rid of the competition.
Right. Yeah.
We all know that the drug war.
Look how easy it was. People could go online, 2 clicks of the button, and.
Yeah.
Doug, you there to say something?
Yeah. We all know that prohibition was a massive failure, and that's why we overturned it. How is this prohibition any different? That's all this is prohibition. And the same outcome is happening with the drug war. The cartels come in. Back then they were called bootleggers and other names, but it's another thing with a different name, and it creates violence, and it's a failure. It's a massive.
Here's
failure.
my philosophy, right? So if drugs are so dangerous that we have to make them illegal, why would we add to that? Because now people who think they're going to get locked in a box are going to be more violent because they're worried about it, instead of just worrying about healing people that need to be rehabilitated.
Exactly.
And treating people that way.
And I am on that side of it right now. Last Friday, I had to do CPR on my own daughter, and it was the worst experience that I've ever gone through. We didn't know she was heavily into drugs. We knew she dabbled. We didn't know the extent of it until last week. And so when you do that, if you do that, you're actually hurting a third party. You're hurting your parents. When it goes to that extent that somebody has to thump on your chest to keep you breathing, the emotional toll that is put on other people, not only yourself. So,
the point I was trying to make really is that, so the Silk Road is 28 to maybe 30% of it was actually drugs. Only 78% of that was marijuana. Mm-hmm. Now, comparably, we can look at Craigslist, and you can go there right now, and it'd take you 5 minutes to find a prostitute or whatever. The back page was probably at least 50% illegal activity. So comparably, the Silk Road to the back page, and with Craigslist, there were actual murders. With the Silk Road, there was a pretend murder. Right. But with Craigslist, there has actually been people murdered on Craigslist.
And Craigslist is still online and still going, and nobody's in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
And welcome back to the Crypto Show. And if you do have any Bitcoin, you should be holding right now. With the price, you should be out there getting you some, buying some, definitely. And you'll want to check out PhoenixCrypto.com, find out where all the locations of their ATMs are in Phoenix. And also check out our main sponsor, along with Phoenix Crypto, is Dash.org. So Dash is a local company that actually was developed there in Phoenix, and it is a fork of Bitcoin, and they're the ones that have made it possible for us to do this show and multiple others that will be added soon. So definitely check that out, Dash.org and Phoenix Crypto. Find out where all the ATMs are, Coin ATM Radar. Doug, how can somebody identify a Phoenix Crypto ATM on Coin ATM Radar?
It's the one that actually has cash in it and is not empty.
That's the one. So, yeah, you're going to want the one that has cash in it. And Phoenix Crypto is actually...
We also want to promote the Nexus Conference. Nexus is another coin that's out there, and they are based in Phoenix as well. And they have a conference coming up towards the end of September, and those are friends of ours. So look that up. I believe it's on the nexusconference.com.
Yeah, nexusearth.com. And that conference will be in Scottsdale, actually.
So come on out and see us and them there.
So do we have a caller on the line?
It looks like we've got Kelly on the line.
Well, let's go ahead and bring her on.
Kelly, how are you doing? You got a question?
Yeah, I do. Hey, guys.
Hey.
I was listening to, and then I had to do an errand, and I couldn't carry the phone in. But the thing is that you were talking about Alex Jones and what, Google, Facebook, and Twitter are doing to him. And it's like, I think it's wrong. Some parts of Alex I really like. Some part I'm like, oh, okay, let me think about that. But the point is, it's like the timing of this is really, really interesting. I don't know if you know who Lisa Haven is, but she's on YouTube, and she was talking about, I know it's okay, Bayer and Monsanto have joined together. And so all of a sudden, Zuckerberg has been pulling non-GMO stuff from YouTube because they really want to push GMO. So it's like the timing for Zuckerberg to start slicing people off who are anti-GMO, which I certainly am, is an interesting timing. And then to go off after Alex Jones, it's like, what, you guys are really bright and really super intelligent. Why can't we not have another option other than Facebook? Why can't we have another version of Facebook, another version of Google, and Twitter? Like, why are they dominating? And I don't want them to control the news, like Google wants to control the news, direct the news, guide the news. I just really despise Zuckerberg.
Those things are coming, and that's exactly what we were talking about with Steemit and with what Eijah's working on with Promether. And go ahead, Eijah. I know you have something to say about this.
We talked about this a little earlier in this broadcast, but it's in the company's best interest to control our data and to be authoritative and be draconian based and really be the central authority for all of the data collection and aggregation that they do. Now, the reason why we haven't gotten competitors yet to Google or Facebook or Twitter or Dropbox or any of the centralized technologies and companies is we've tried. We've tried for many, many, many years. Startups, ICOs, Silicon Valley companies, you name it. Little companies have been founded to do just that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. But you know what happens? They either get destroyed, squashed by the Goliaths of the world, or they get bought out. When you have an up-and-coming engineer or team of engineers that literally have been working 100-hour weeks for the past 2 years and have $200 in their savings account and a dream and code, and they're offered to be bought out for $20 million and sign this NDA that says they can't ever do something competitive for the next decade, they do it. And so there are forces that be that
kind of happened to you with McAfee, but you changed the shoe and put it on the other foot, right?
I did. I taught John McAfee a very much needed lesson about humanity, and some people can't be bought. Now,
what's going on with Alex Jones right now is a symptom of what we have in the system. It's a centralized system. We really need to decentralize it. So, like you're saying,
what's the saying? When they came for him, I said nothing. When they came for them, there you go. Well, they just came for Alex Jones, and now they're coming for Ron Paul, and they're coming for multiple others. It was Anarchy Ball, all these.
So let's just make a new one. Let's just make them obsolete. We have the technology. Let's just do it.
Well, you can, but it requires funding. Yeah. And take a look at what Promether is doing right now. We've raised some seed funding right now. Not tons and tons and tons of money, but a very, very healthy amount that allows us to build a team. But we've only done that because we brought on seed investors, early round investors that are also visionaries in accomplishing the same goal. Individuals like Rishan here, who's put his reputation at stake and a bunch of money at stake, a significant amount of money, more money than I have. And he's done it because he shares this vision. But it takes experience. It takes individuals like me to step out, resign from positions like Rockstar Games, put their reputation on the line, and reach out and find people like Rishan and the other investors that we have on board and say, help us build a better world. But it has to be funded by people who think the same way that we are. And that's very scary, to give up our money in hopes of a better world.
I think one thing that keeps it easy for Google, Facebook, and all these guys to stay in charge is we have this left-right paradigm where you have Republican, Democrat, where, you know, the political system can literally divide the public, and they, you know, the left will believe whatever, you know, Zuckerberg wants you to believe, and the right's going to oppose it. Well, we need everybody to oppose it, not just the left and the right. We need to attack.
Rishan, did you want to add anything about, you're very business world savvy, so you come from a entirely different side of the spectrum for me from a technological standpoint. Is it easy for startups to get money and not compromise their principles?
I mean, it's a tough one, right? Privacy is it's a tough sell, right? It's not the first thing on your mind unless you've had something happen that violated your privacy and resulted in, you know, severe negative trauma, I guess. But for me, I have a data science background. I was an actuary, and as weird as it sounds, a lot of human behavior is predictable through data. And when these people continually have access and ownership of that data, they oftentimes know more about us than we know about ourselves. And that's really scary to me. The previous company that I built and exited in 2015, we focused on optimizing online advertising using machine learning to understand people's behaviors and what they may be interested in. And it got so good that it scared me. Like when I scroll down my Instagram feed or my Facebook feed, I click on most of those ads because they interest me, right? And that's when the privacy thing started hitting me. Like, we built this technology. We know how much data we have on people. Even though we can't identify them individually or steal their identity or anything, we kind of know more about the way they think and act and what gets their attention and what gets them to take action. And that's really what scared me into looking for solutions that I could, allow me to protect myself and my kids when they eventually come, and my grandkids. And yeah, I guess that's what really got me passionate in the project. And then, of course, I believed in you and your ability to execute given your history. That was the magical combination for me, thinking down the line, as data science, machine learning gets better, more efficient, I don't want to lose control over my life. No, do I want that happen.
Real quick, I want to get back to Curtis. Curtis, what is the name of your book, and where can people find that? Because this is a story that everybody needs to know.
Yeah, it's called Silk Road, the Takedown, or Takedown the Silk Road. But Silk Road, the Takedown is what it's titled, and it's almost a memoir, really, because I was just involved in like every aspect of that whole thing. Hopefully I'm done with it, but the book is we're dealing with some publishers right now, and I'm self-publishing next. We'll go online next week at CryptoCurtisGreen.com.
Okay.
And
we're going to have a much more in-depth interview with Curtis, and that will be on our YouTube channel. So go to thecryptoshow.com, check out all of our social medias, Promether.com, and you can find out about the projects that Eijah is working on, Dash.org, and Phoenix Crypto. You definitely need to get out there.
And we want
to learn about cryptocurrencies. And go ahead, Doug.
We want to put out there any businesses that are business owners that would like to have a Bitcoin ATM in your store. We will pay you to put it there. So contact us.
We're looking for you. Contact us. The number's on the website. Go to phoenixcrypto.com.
All right. And if you're watching on Facebook, go to Facebook to The Crypto Show, and you can follow along. We'll continue this broadcast a little bit longer on Facebook on The Crypto Show. So check that out.
Let's go. Yeah. Well, one of the things about what the biggest when people ask me what blockchain is, and I try to describe to them, when people would talk, when people would talk to me about when I would just tell them what it is, and the smart people would kind of get it. I'd spend a day trying to explain to them what it is, and they said, "Well, basically, it's in a glorified database." And well, yeah, that's exactly what it is, but you don't get it. It's decentralized. And then I spend another literally 4 hours explaining what decentralization is, the proof of work, proof of stake, all this other stuff. And then they still don't get it because you can't understand cryptocurrency or the blockchain in a half an hour, And so I get that argument all the time. It's just a glorified database. In fact, a guy that I know who has a cryptocurrency, he says, I don't know why 90% of them are out there. They're just glorified databases. And you don't get the dang point.
I mean, if you define glorification by being decentralized, not being able to be manipulated, being independently verified, then but that's a pretty good glory, right?
Exactly. That's
awesome.
The perfect reason to go blockchain. So it's what people need to be educated, and once they get educated, and once it goes more mainstream, then it'll be easier to have those little conversations. It'll be easier to say, oh, this is what it is. And then all of a sudden they go, okay, I get it now. And for the first since 2011, I was banging my head against the wall. I gave up trying to explain what blockchain. I mean, I was just trying to get it myself, But to explain it to somebody that doesn't know, it's very hard.
I guess for the listeners that are still here on Facebook, tell us a little bit about the whole murder for hire.
Oh my gosh.
In your book, as it's
in the book. Yes, I always got a disclaimer. It's in the book, which it is. It was one hell of a mess, man. It was. I was up in Salt Lake in the Marriott Hotel, and sitting around with DE agents and Secret Service, and oh my gosh, it was like 18 different people, and then we went home that night. The next morning, I got accused of stealing all this Bitcoin. I wish I had those Bitcoins. and then he said, well, guess what? We got to beat you up. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? Never done this. So he said, okay, we got to beat you up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what they did in the hotel room, they dunked me. I called it waterboarding. That's what my attorneys called it. It was waterboarding, because that's what I thought. To me, I was being waterboarded. I don't care if you pour it over and they took pictures. And when I got home, they I don't know who brought me home. Some from Homeland Security brought me home, and he called me. Carl Force called me, and he said, "Oh, by the way, the order has been changed from just to beat you up to murder, to have you killed." And I'm like, "What do we have to do now?" And I got scared. I mean, and he said, "By the way, he wouldn't tell me how much. He just said there's a large amount of money that's being paid, and luckily I'm Knob, and I'm the guy that will take care of this." And immediately when he said that, I thought, the government's behind this. All the conspiracy theorists are out there. They're probably saying, yeah, right, you're conspiracy. I'm seriously thought. I go, Carl Force he's doing this. He's doing this for a reason. And then after some time, I realized maybe he wasn't. So the government doesn't. They convinced me. One day I would have one narrative. The next day I would have another narrative. I would go back and forth like 10 times. I was totally anti this, then pro this, anti-pro. And so it's when we were at home. I said, well, how are we going to do this? He goes, I need you to look dead. And I'm like, okay. So my wife says, she was a smart one. She's very intelligent. She goes, Campbell's soup. That's it. It'll make look like throw up. So she grabbed the thing of Campbell's soup, and we went into the bathroom, and I staged myself on the floor and took pictures of Campbell's soup coming out of my mouth. It looks like throw up. And then he goes, can you watch the metadata on that? And I'm like, well, I know how to do it, but I can't. I don't know how to. I'd have to sit there and go through the step by step. I don't do it every day. It's not like
it's second nature.
Yeah, I don't know how to. And so he goes, oh, we've got somebody here that can do it. And I'm like, okay. So I send him the photos, and he goes, okay, now you do. We're gonna fly you out here, and we're gonna put you up somewhere. And my attorneys put the kibosh on it, because had I gone out there, I am 100% sure that I would have been killed by Carl Force.
Yeah, and for the people who may be watching and don't know who Carl Force is, actually name both of the
Yeah, Karl Mark
Pigs.
Force. He's got a cool name, but he's a total jerk. And then Sean Bridges. Sean Bridges worked for the NSA and the Secret Service. He worked on the Obama detail. Oh, can you believe that? And I was told I was told by the AUSA, Catherine Hahn. She's now one of the vice presidents of Coinbase or of legal affairs or something. And she said
another good reason not to use coin.
Yeah, she said Sean Bridges is the most evil person, and she's put away murderers, drug lords, cartel. He is the most evil person she's ever put away.
And he works for the government.
Oh,
of course he does.
And he only got 7 years.
Well, didn't he steal your Bitcoins too?
No, Karl Force did. Yeah, so yeah, he stole my Bitcoin. Karl Force stole Bitcoin, and he was court ordered to pay me back. But unfortunately, here's the caveat on that. At the time, Bitcoin was only worth like $13. He stole $4,000 for the Bitcoin, which is a lot. Well, guess how much that Bitcoin would be worth today?
Money.
Oh, cha-ching! And so the court ordered to pay me $4,000 US. And I said, no. I want my Bitcoin back. I don't give a flying crap about the fiat. Right. I want the crypto. And you know what was interesting when right after from the big huge Salt Lake thing, the 2-day or I call it my torture ordeal. I mean, because seriously, I felt I was tortured. And when they dropped me off, the final words that one of the head guys at Homeland Security, who's running another person from a dark net right now, and they got him under control and making him work for him and all that kind of stuff. His advice to me was to give up cryptocurrency and to get away from it. It's just bad news. It's just going nowhere. Ha ha ha. And this was and he said, and this is true. I had a whole bunch of FPGA Bitcoin miners when the rate was, oh man, I don't know what it was, but I was making Bitcoin left and right. And he goes, we know we could take all these Bitcoin. And I'm like, you're lucky we didn't. I'm like, what does Bitcoin have to? What does my machines have to do? And so yeah, the whole murder for hire with Sean Bridges and Karl Force. Karl Force is more of a morally broken man, and Sean Bridges, I would probably put him as an evil man.
So the whole point was that Ross Ulbricht tried to kill you. How does your book end? What's the ending of your book?
It actually is me and Ross Ulbricht's mother. That's how it ends. In New York. So you're carrying the luggage of the man's mother who tried to supposedly murder you. Yep. I here I am holding all of Mrs. Ulbricht's luggage. Here I have a really bad back bag. I don't care. I love her. She is the most amazing woman on this earth. I'm sorry. She is. She's awesome, and she's fighting for all of us. And and I think she's just awesome. And we had a fantastic breakfast with her and Tatiana, and it was and I had nothing but respect for her. And so I was here. She was going to visit Ross she's catching a plane to go to Colorado, and I said, hey, what can me and Ross meet? And he says, oh, I don't know. I'm like, it was kind of weird. I'm like, I don't care. I don't, I do it. And
submit the form.
Yeah, well, see, I'm a convicted felon.
That I don't think that matters.
I know. I'd have to get on some. Yeah.
As long as he approves you and they approve you, then.
Yeah, and she said she goes, why don't you write him? And I said, well, do you want me to send it to you and you send it forward? Do you want to edit the book? You want to edit the letter? She goes, oh, absolutely not. Just send it directly to him. And so I started like 3 times, and I'm like, I don't know what to say, because my attorneys think I am freaking crazy for being on his side. He goes, he has you killed. And I said, no, I knew the DPR that I knew, he was a calm, cool, collected, very smart, very intelligent human being, and he cared about us. And I did not see, I was shocked when they said he wanted me dead. I did not believe that for a second. And my first thought was, Carl Force, he did it. He had my key. He had the login keys.
Well, did you see the writing? I mean, how was it written, this hit order?
Was
it the same? Can you say that? Oh yeah, that was Ross. He wrote it, or that was DPR, or was this written in a different manner?
No, I've thought about it back and forth, left and right, a million times, and I might be crazy. I might be totally off base because I don't know. I wasn't there. People get behind a computer. They can be anybody. We don't know who you're talking to unless you meet them face to face. So, but I think the person I have no sympathy for is Variety Jones. I think he was the bad seed. And everybody say, was there multiple DPRs? Absolutely there was. I was DPR once. So if I was, who else was?
And if Carl Force had the keys, then he was DPR as well.
He very well could have. So granted, they only had the keys for a couple days, and then when I went to log back on and my credentials were taken away. And then so I went back to DPR and I begged for mercy. I said, because I was in jail, so I disappeared for a couple days. And he says, no, we can't have you. You need to get the, 'cause when the government threatens you, I was threatened with 40 years minimum. And people understand when the government has M16s pointing at you and saying, we're going to throw you in jail for 40 years, you're pretty much going to do anything they say jump, I say how high. Looking back, I wish I would have done totally different. I wish I would have stood my ground and said, screw you, But yeah, they.
But do you think that once, say, the cops got a hold of these private keys and they were possibly DPR, was there a difference in the way Silk Road operated? Were there more things on it at that point that were not in line with what the philosophy of the Silk Road was?
Well, I noticed it did change after my arrest. It did change. Obviously I was told not to go onto the site whatsoever, but I did, just because I wanted to see what people are, I wanted to see, because the whole thing on the site, people were saying that I stole this money, but when it was really the government.
My only interaction with the Silk Road was on the forums, and at that point I had never logged on to Tor, and Ross Ulbricht's father walked me through how to get on this Tor, and
Tor's awesome.
I was helping them to find evidence for the case. This was before the first trial.
I've seen, and you know what's interesting about that? I went through went through all the old posts. You can find them from me, and I went back and go, I didn't write that. It looked totally foreign to me. I'm like, it didn't ring a bell. I mean, could I have? I don't know, but I did. There was a few times where, and it was all very detrimental. It made me look bad. And I'm like, that was weird. And I didn't give it much thought until the government's agents started to go down one by one. Then I thought, oh, that may have a little bit of merit. So, they did. They had for 3 days, I know they had them. And then 2 days they didn't. And then I got back on, and Carl Force and myself, as far as I know, were the only ones that have the login. He made me give. It's funny. When Carl Force got on the site, the password that I made to get on it was he made to get on, because he changed the password so I couldn't get back in. And so there you go. I know for a fact he went and changed my password for my login. So if he did it to me, who knows what, and so he changed it, and he changed it to Lucky 7 was the password. And when DPR said, I came up with a sad story why I was gone for 2 days, and I logged back in, and Carl Force was adamant that I give him the new login. Because I was like, he let me back in, I changed it, and I'm like, why do you need it? I go, I don't understand this. But he said, you got to give it to me before you get on, or he threatened me again. If I will come arrest you. So because I didn't want to give it up, And so, but I'm so scared. These guys had me thinking I was going to go to prison. I was going to get killed. I was going to do this. I mean, I was scared. I was like a 12-year-old girl, scared out of her wits. And so I gave up the keys. This was on a Sunday. So from Sunday till that Friday, he had the logins. So did I. He had the login to get in to do anything that I could do.
Right. So the evidence of the murder, the supposed murder for hire. Did you actually see that before they had the keys, or was that something that you have seen after?
It was all after. And the timeline is a little bit weird because that Saturday when supposedly this happened, when I saw the transcripts, it was pretty much online to their narrative. It was exactly what he portrayed. So was it there, or did they put it there? I don't know. You can't speculate. I mean, you can speculate all you want, but you just don't know for sure which way it is. And so, because they had me so confused, they wanted me to be confused. They wanted me to feel with no power. They wanted me to be submissive.
Right.
And boy, I was. I thought I had to be for my kids, for my grandkids. I thought, I was thinking about them. I wasn't thinking about me.
In the first hearings, the Ross's counsel was trying to bring up the fact that these guys had the keys to the kingdom before the whole murder for hire, but the judge threw all that out and would not let the jury hear that information because there was a pending case with these two cops. So it would taint the case of the cops being charged with these Bitcoin thefts and all this other stuff. So, fruit of the poisonous tree, it should have gotten rid of all that evidence, but the Judge Forrest would not let that evidence in. And that's crucial evidence. You just said that they had control. They had the keys before the supposed murder for hire.
And Ross Ulbricht, they tried to subpoena me to testify, and I figured this was going to happen. I was thinking I was going to go, and my attorneys called me and they said, their paperwork is flying like crazy right now. The defense wants you, and the government is trying to stop you. And I'm like, well, of course the government's trying to stop me. They don't want to bring up Carl. They had, everything would be laid out. Everything would. Do you know how detrimental that would have been into the trial had Carl Forrest and Sean Bridges been to 12 normal-headed people?
Don't the rules of evidence say that if that evidence is there, that the prosecution is supposed to share it with the defense in the interest of justice? You're not. The whole point of this is you're not trying to secure a conviction. You're trying to find the truth. So if they have the truth right there, why are they hiding it?
Well, on the other thing too, the whole Baltimore task force, they were called the Marco Polo Task Force, probably because of Silk Road, that whole thing. But it was a big competition between them, Chicago, the FBI. Nobody would share any information with anyone. It was like everybody. They were all segregated. It was like this. It was like a family feuding. That's probably the best way to put it. It was terrible.
That brings me to another point. These agencies being so territorial, why would San Francisco release Ross to the District of New York?
Well, the District of New York, Chuck Schumer, he's the one who started the whole thing, and so the whole show was ran by the Southern District of New York, and that's one of the only reasons why I pled guilty. I pled guilty for something. It's so screwed up. I pled guilty to something I didn't even do. I said, charge me with something I did. Don't charge me with something I didn't do. The whole thing is really screwed up. The case smelled from high heaven, and
so the thing to keep in mind is that Chuck Schumer was grandstanding for re-election at that time, and so he was holding the Silk Road up. Hey, look what I'm doing here in New York.
Ping pails, this, that.
Right, and so that was what was popular then, and now the legalization of marijuana has become popular, and now he's literally taking phrases from the Silk Road, saying there's no reason why we should prosecute these people. They've not hurt anybody. It's like the dude read the manifesto of the Silk Road and used these things to display to Democrats that he's all for. He's pro marijuana, but it's crazy.
Yeah. He's seeing that the country's wants marijuana. So he's thinking, oh crap, if I'm against it, I better change my tune. Who knows what he's for or against?
Yeah. So where can I find a cool phrase to tell everybody? Oh, well Silk Road. Hey, there we go.
Yeah. So, honestly, everybody that has cryptocurrency, it's my belief that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency would not be here where it is today if it wasn't for Silk Road.
Between the Silk Road and Satoshi Dice, that's what gave it its value. So if you enjoy the value of cryptocurrency, you owe a debt of gratitude to Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road, and Satoshi Dice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I lost a ton of money on Satoshi Dice, by the way, but but I love that. It was great. It was a great concept. I loved it. It was fun. It was great playing.
Eric, you're terrible. No.
It's the whole thing. If people really understood it, I think they would be on this they would understand. I see all the fudders, all the other people out there saying, "Oh, he did the crime, do the time, all this other crap. What was he doing?" But people don't understand what DPR. I always try to differentiate. I don't want to put that same person with the.
Yeah, you can go on our YouTube channel and find. I did an interview with Eric Voorhees. He recently went and visited Ross in prison.
Oh, really?
And, it's a pretty interesting take on what he had to say about the meeting. I'm like, man, you got to tell me about the meeting between the two guys who gave Bitcoin the most value. So
yeah. Well, and there's also a rumor. I don't know how true it is. I don't know if you guys heard it, but there's also a small rumor out there that that Ross talked with Mark Karpelès at one time. They talked, and that's all they did was talk. Of course, Mark Karpelès brought in, and I thought that was kind of strange. I don't know what happened in those meetings, but apparently they talked. Who knows what they talked about? But
and Mark Karpelès was actually called as a witness, but he never testified against Ross.
Yeah, he was in Japan with all our Bitcoin.
How is that going, by the way? Do you know anything about the Mt. Gox?
I'm actually a plaintiff in the case, and I just got a notice. They keep you updated. It's always in Japanese, but you scroll down long enough, you'll get the English version. and they said, now they're going to pay us in Bitcoin Cash instead of cash. Yeah, they're going to pay us in Bitcoin Cash.
It's because it's the real Bitcoin.
You know what, Curtis? The Japanese at the top and then the English at the bottom is the reason every time Mt. Gox email me, Mt. Gox email me about claiming my money, I just never get it done because I click on the link and there's like 30 questions and you click next and just. Yeah,
and I had a problem with seeing how you had to sign with your password at the very beginning.
Yep.
I had a problem doing that because guess who had my Yuba key?
Not you.
Carl Force did. He controlled my Mt. Gox Bitcoins.
Right.
Piece of crap.
Right.
How many Bitcoins were they accused of stealing? And
20,000.
How many did they actually steal?
They say 20,000, but I am confident there is more money hidden. There is the true amount.
So we know who has your Bitcoin.
Yeah. Do we have an address for this guy?
Yeah. I'll be there.
You can go visit him.
I think the dollar value that I lost is in the tens of millions.
Oh, crypto has really taught me to forgive and forget and move on.
Yeah.
With everything that's gone on with all the exchanges and stuff, you just made me a better person. And the other way I justify it is I go, I'm contributing to the appreciation of crypto by destroying some of the supply. Right?
Yeah, exactly. There's there's like 4 or 5 million Bitcoin. They say there's. I don't know how they came up with that number, but I think they included the Satoshi's million in there. I don't know.
A lot, yeah. It's my altruistic view.
You have to think that way, or you go crazy. Because I know a lot of people that lost a lot of money. and my brother included. And he unfortunately didn't sign. He didn't know what he was doing. I told him, don't go sign this. Go sign this. He didn't. So he's screwed out of any compensation, I guess. But it's you have to. And also, I get one of my biggest Bitcoin transaction was in 2012 for almost 4,000 Bitcoin, and people say, well, why in the hell would you spend that much? And I said, well, I could have done a wire transfer. It was roughly $40,000 of Bitcoin at the time, and I thought, no, I want to help Bitcoin get going. I want it to get, and so guess who I shipped 4,000 Bitcoins to? Butterfly Labs. If anybody is mining will know that whole story.
I don't even know if I should say this because I've actually never said it in public per se, but I'll put it out there in case anyone wants to help. On January 9th, 2018, I was actually robbed in Vegas. They took a briefcase that had a whole bunch of hardware wallets, most of which I had the seeds for, but one I didn't. That had about, at the time was January 9th, had about $3.1 million of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash on it that I've never been able to recover. I mean, we had the police, the FBI involved with the cybercrime, had private investigators involved, and everyone tells me it's probably being dumped somewhere. So I'll just put it out there in case anyone in Vegas were to run into, a security case with some hardware wallets in it. I'm willing to share.
Oh yeah, see if they get past. But yeah, see, and that's the other thing about with government. I am sure for about 2 years, I guarantee I was followed. I guarantee my phones were tapped. And so whenever I did, my attorneys would whisk me in their car. I mean, they knew, they worked for the government. They knew exactly what they were dealing with, and to some secure weird place that we didn't know we were going. So no, they couldn't plan ahead, and to have our little meetings. We did that a few times. But yeah, people. That lose Bitcoin, you have to justify it some reason, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Ownership, access is ownership.
Yep. I have I have Trezors. They're sending me the T model here shortly, and if people have to be taught how to secure their crypto, because if they're not taught that, then it won't work. Right. They have to know how to secure. That's the first step. Knowing how it works, that can be taught later. But you have to know how to secure it first, because there's a million people out there that are trying to get in my wallets. I had $120,000 worth of Bitcoin. I thought it was secure. But I emailed in 2000. I had all these different wallets, and I had the keys, the private words for it. Stupid me. This is back in years ago. I emailed the keywords to myself. Ooh. Don't do that. Don't do it. I am lucky. There was over $1.7 million in that wallet, and they only got $100,000.
Oh,
lucky freak! And that was just Bitcoin. I'm not talking about Ethereum. I'm not talking about everything else. And I got a notice withdrawal. I'm like, what the hell? And they were taking out 0.04. I'm like, I had a ton of Bitcoin in there. and so I made a mad dash to I just shipped it all to, I could only do so much. I shipped it all to Bittrex, and then because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then I did my Trezor and with new keywords, and I've been a happy child ever since. It was my fault.
I've even upgraded to multi-sigs of people that I wouldn't even be able to get a hold of because they're in different time zones. So literally, someone holds a gun to your head, like, okay, bro, these are the 8 people. Yeah. These are the time zones they're on. Here are their numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cryptocurrencies. We're just in the beginning. It had a rough start, to say the least, and we still have bumps in the road. But I'm the biggest advocate of cryptocurrency. There has to be, or one of them. I'm sure there's a lot of people who can beat me out, but yeah, the education is important, and all the naysayers. All the naysayers are all business people, because they want it centralized. They want to control everything. They
want to drive the price down so they can buy some more.
Right. Well, exactly. And so that's their goal. Their goal isn't to have freedom. They're to make more money. That's right. That's what their goal is.
And that's the unfortunate wave that we've seen, I think, from like Q4, maybe Q3 2017 to now, that a lot of the newer people that are coming into crypto are coming in for other reasons than the original group of people were in. I'm not trying to divide or draw lines here, but clearly with the whole ICO craze and what's happened and stuff this year, there are ulterior motives at this point.
Well, I mean, if we want mass adoption, and I think that's what everybody wants, then we need to start reaching out to these other people and stop being okay. Only libertarians get to use it. Only anarchists get to use it.
You're right, and maybe these are just growing pains, right? We onboard these people for their own intentions. We create governance mechanisms or coding mechanisms that protects the integrity of what crypto was originally, and that's how we learn and grow.
Yeah, they're basically afraid of losing power and control.
Yeah,
I mean, it really comes down to that. Whether it's governments or companies or centralization, it doesn't matter. It's all irrelevant. They're afraid of losing control, which represents the power. He who has the control has the power. Imagine what would have happened. And keep in mind, I'm not advocating for illegal activities with this statement, but imagine what would have happened years ago when the government came down overly hard on the Silk Road. If we had true anonymous, decentralized technology above and beyond what Tor can offer in a truly decentralized network, not a centralized web-based infrastructure on the dark web. Imagine what would have happened. The government would not have been able to take down the Silk Road.
That's right.
And the technology is evolving in that direction now. And keep in mind, this is not a statement for the advocacy of illegal transactions of any sort of technology, but nonetheless, society is evolving, technology is evolving in lockstep to get us to that place. And they are scared, and they should be, because we are coming.
Exactly. And people always think, well, if you don't want anybody to know, you must be doing something wrong. I said, no. I just want privacy. I just want to be able to do something without this person or that person knowing about it. Yep. It's all about privacy. And I invest. This is not a shill for them whatsoever. I just bought. It takes every coin. It's NIX, N-I-X. They take every coin and it turns into an anonymous coin. Mm-hmm. And so you can do peer-to-peer. So you can send Bitcoin anonymously. You can send Litecoin anonymously. It's made for trading. And I think, that's going to be a huge step, knowing that you can send Bitcoin totally anonymously. Right. So, or any non-anonymous coin you can now will be able to send anonymously.
And that's the fundamental of cash, right? Cash is anonymous. Mm-hmm. So we're not doing anything different other than just holding.
Well, cash is extremely anonymous. They have those little serial numbers on the top of what, so it was printed in San Francisco or Philadelphia. Big deal.
Yeah.
How long does it stay in San Francisco?
We don't want governments to know about what we do or who we do it with, because it's our goddamn right to privacy.
That's right.
And whether that's a libertarian belief or whether it's a Democratic or Republican, it's irrelevant. It's a human belief, and it's a human creed, and it's a human right. The privacy is a right. And it's time we assert and demand our rights back.
And how else am I going to secure my goat porn?
Isn't there like a psychological first principle that privacy of your mind is key to sanity? Mm-hmm. Just being right. Privacy is part of being a human being. And even more to take it one step from what you said, I agree with that the government and companies shouldn't be able to see it. For me, it's even a little bit more. I don't want people to be able to predict my behavior, my requirements, my desires by monitoring my patterns and my behaviors. And I know how insanely clinical that is with the technology we have right now.
And here's the real sad truth to all this is when companies realize how many billions they can make off of marketing convenient products that are focused on protecting the privacy of individuals, they will suddenly have a change of heart, a come to Jesus, whatever that is the sad.
It'll benefit them the most if they embrace it.
And if they embrace it for that reason, for non-altruistic reasons, I'm fine with that as an individual. But the sad truth is they don't care about us. They only care about money. So how do we change the world? We can't change companies. We can't change governments. We can only create better technology that people want to use more than the old shit. That's it. We can swear on this, right? Okay, all right.
And better incentivization mechanisms,
I swear
right?
we can.
All right.
Right, better incentivization mechanisms, which is what you mentioned right at the beginning, that the blockchain's greatest gift to mankind is how to incentivize people.
Absolutely. And also timing. I think we are in the perfect time right now for this to happen. See, when I was in high school, I think I saw a computer somewhere, but I took a computer class, I think. I typed Hello World or something, 3 different, some weird back in 1980, whatever. And today, my grandson can do circles over me on the iPad and whatnot. I didn't grow up in that. I'm having to learn. And so the kids that are growing up, that are the X generation or whatever, though it's like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
They know they're technically minded, they're smart, they know what they want, and cryptocurrency, whatever form you see it, it will only grow from here, even though it's $200 right now, but it will continue to grow.
Yeah.
And it will continue to foster. And those of us that try to go out there and push it and to help the youth, it may take a while before we get that mass adoption in there. But I think we've made some great strides in 9 years. I mean, look.
Sounds like a long time, but we made a lot of stuff.
Oh, I know. To me, 2010 was yesterday. I mean, seriously.
So what do you guys think of this with the whole Alex Jones thing? Do you think this is going to push crypto and privacy stuff forward more faster? Because it's obviously going to expand beyond just him and the few that they've added. I mean, okay, well, who else can we hate now?
Yeah. Well, fear does amazing things to people, and it causes us to react in ways we never anticipate we would react. I had a quote in one of my, I think it was one of my talks in my talks I gave, I think for DEF CON 23, is I said, it's in our greatest moments of weakness that we define ourselves as individuals. It's not when we're happy, not when we're comfortable, not when we're loved, not when we have money, but it's when we're beaten up, bloodied, penniless, naked, freezing, abandoned, dying in a dark corner, dark alley somewhere. That's when we become real. And the closer we get to that state of mind and state of being, the more we're going to see governments and companies attack. But you know what? It's, first they ignore you, then they attack you, or first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they attack you, and then you win. And so you can't win without being beaten to shit. And it's just part of the process. They've ignored us for a long time. They've mocked us for even longer. Now they're kicking our ass. We're almost about to win. And it's just a matter of hanging on. That's the difference from winners and losers, is that last mile in the marathon. If you can just make it when you feel like you have nothing more to give, you will be victorious. Everybody usually gives up right when they're about to die. No, you've got another mile in you. And that's where we're at right now with crypto and with security and with anonymity. We just have to push one more mile, guys.
And education, getting, if you want to learn more, there's a ton of information out there. Go to crypto groups, go podcasts like this one. There's so much education out there. And I think that's one of the keys, is to get educated. And I know in universities they're starting to, but they need to start teaching this a little bit sooner than that. Yeah. Because then that'll wake up some of the younger minds. But yeah, people are scared, and they just think about the price. They don't look at what blockchain and Bitcoin is trying to do. Everybody's worried about, it's going to hit 20,000. It's the whole technology. I mean, I'm not scared. I mean, when it drops, people, aren't you scared? You just lost how much? I go, I don't care. I don't care if it goes. I hope it goes down. I'll get more. Because I know it's going to only grow. It's only going to make our lives better. I mean, if people understood what the blockchain can do with healthcare, with anything, every aspect of our lives will make better. And we're just at the beginning. We're like, and here's another thing I always tell people: blockchain technology is up there with the invention of electricity, with the invention of the telephone, invention of the computer. And so we have a great path that Satoshi laid out for us, and it's our responsibility to carry it forward and to keep moving it forward and educating those behind us so they can catch up.
Yeah. And all we have to do is look outside. I mean, this is a great segue into why we're here in Las Vegas. We're not here in Las Vegas to get drunk and go to parties. We're here in Las Vegas to go to DEF CON.
We're not?
Well, okay, all right, some of us. Oh, well, we're also here to go parties. Okay, I don't know why. But for the next 4 days,
we were promised parties. Right?
I'm actually throwing a party tomorrow, so I should have led with that. But we're here for the next 4 days with the #1 hacking conference in the world, DEF CON. and we're here. All we have to do, if somebody lacks inspiration and hope in the future of humankind, all one has to do is show up at DEF CON and look around at all the generations of hackers and visionaries and people who haven't lost hope in humankind. There are people that are 6, 7, 8-year-olds here, and there are people who are octogenarians here, and they all share a common belief and hope in humanity, and they're willing to put their talents at use to achieve that. And that's the most beautiful thing for me.
There might even be a guy who has a taste for shit.
or who has a BitFi wallet.
My gosh! Don't even get me started on the BitFi
Holy
wallet.
shit!
It has Wi-Fi on it. It's got to broadcast your keys, doesn't it? Somewhere.
It also communicates back to the China homeland and lets them know what you do. So it's ridiculous. So trust me, as a guy who is associated with John McAfee, though. Everything he's associated with is crap and a fraud and subject of a con man's dream. So, yes, Demon Saw was associated with him, but I tell people even a broken watch is right twice a day. So
there's always Bangkok hookers.
He brings that up all the time. In fact, I had a phone call conversation with him. He actually brought up Bangkok hookers.
Do not, and I give you, trust me, I've spent 2 years with John McAfee. He's great at parties still. I like the guy. Yeah. Don't get associated with anything that he advocates. If he tweets about a coin, if he tweets about a project,
one ear out the other.
Avoid everything he associates himself with. Otherwise, he will commit. He is a fraud, a con man, and a liar, and he will destroy you if you give him your money.
The one thing that he wanted from me, he wanted to somehow make money from me somehow from my book. I don't know. And at first, I thought, maybe this is not good, and I remembered all the, Verge and all the other stuff that he showed. And I'm like, at first I was thinking, I got to do this. What, how can I not do it? And I'm like, man, I would, my name would be muddier than it is now, and it can't get much muddier. Let me tell you.
Judge a visionary, judge somebody who is a prophet, judge a leader by what he or she does. I mean, but the software they create, the companies they create, if they haven't created any products in 3 decades, they're not a leader.
Yeah, and the one thing that I don't want to be a bashing of him whatsoever. This is not what I'm supposed to try to do. What he's come out and done, he's trying to jump on the coattails of cryptocurrency and try to make up. That, to me, that's all he's trying to do.
Yeah,
he doesn't care. He doesn't care if crypto goes, but he wants $106,000 in his words, not mine, in crypto, fiat, or hookers
for each tweet. So I actually found out he lied about. He lied about that. The reality is he was doing those tweets for
just making sure we had sound.
He was doing those tweets for 1 Bitcoin. Sadly,
really,
he was shilling all those products for 1 Bitcoin. It wasn't for 105,000.
So I thought about giving him $106,000. Oh my gosh! I wouldn't do it, but I actually thought about it.
Remember, guys, John McAfee is a fraud, a liar, and a con man, and he hasn't created anything in 3 decades. Use caution.
Yeah. He doesn't. He says he knows things, but maybe he's surrounded people that know things.
And by the way, I still like the guy. He's still my friend, it seems like
he admitted that to us when we were talking about Future 10 Central. He says, "Look, I'm not very talented, but I do have a good talent at finding talent, and that's about it."
And God bless him.
Yeah.
If he can do that, and then if he can make a buck. Or Satoshi.
Well, except for those guys, the divisive guys, that turned out really well for them, didn't it? I mean, how did that go?
That didn't go so well. But you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all somewhat responsible for our own actions, for better or worse. So that's part of being an adult. Sometimes we choose wisely, and sometimes we choose poorly. I'm thinking of the Last Crusade, that scene when Harrison Ford's trying to choose the different. Cups of Christ or whatever and he's looking around. He's like, choose wisely. That old knight was saying, and I'm thinking, I don't know what I would choose, but I'd probably choose not to choose. Is that a choice?
Yeah.
Sounds like a Rush song.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I and it's funny how he just went to the BitFi thing and he stopped Schilling. I think the SEC may have.
Yeah.
He claims he woke up in the hospital room, didn't he? It was a drug overdose. I'm assuming, allegedly. I don't know.
Yeah.
The SEC's at what? Maybe FBI, maybe DEA.
No,
why would the SEC?
I have DMs from him and emails from him and voice messages from him telling me he was dying a year and a half ago in the hospital when he had appendicitis. And later we found out he had appendicitis, pleading this might be his last moment to talk to me when I was ignoring him. After I had dumped him, after I basically had dumped him and said, I don't need you. I open source Demon Saw and said, basically I said, fuck you, John. I don't need you.
Don't these
he didn't like that.
Don't these random attacks kind of coincide with the days that he was supposed to attend a conference and didn't make it?
Oh yeah. And so I'll let you in on a little insight of the conversation John McAfee had with the BitFi executive, if you can even call them an executive team, the charlatans of BitFi. The day after BitFi was hacked to death by multiple people from multiple attack vectors, this was like 2-3 days ago, whatever. I guarantee you John McAfee called up the BitFi team and had a conversation because they're panicking. They're like, holy shit, you said this was unhackable. What, you mean we're keeping our keys and passphrases in clear text as strings in memory and it's never garbage collected? Oh my God. Wow, this is a vulnerability. Yes, it's a vulnerability that any 101 computer science student probably would have figured out. But I guarantee you he had a conversation with them saying, you know what, guys, this is just not going to work out. He probably said, and I quote, you guys fucked up. You guys fucked up. You guys told me it was secure. It's not. I can't really help you. You're going to have to be on your own. I'm sorry. I wish you the best. And that's, I guarantee you had that conversation probably 2 days ago. And so what they're trying to do now is they're trying to react to this. And this is why McAfee's silent. If McAfee were still on their team, he'd be fighting for them. He'd be tweeting out. He's been very passive the last 2 days. And that's because he's distancing himself with them. And here's why. Because his quote unquote secure phone has to come out. And his secure phone is now in jeopardy because it's associated with another security product that was hacked to death. So his secure phone is now
going to be crap.
So he has to disassociate himself with BitFi. And this is why McAfee hasn't been vocal on Twitter. And this is why he will no longer fight for them. I know John. I spent 2 years with him. It's hilarious. I mean, this is comedy at its best. Like SNL, eat your heart out. This is real comedic value. But that's why John, and we'll see something probably in the next week, maybe 4 or 5 days, where he officially addresses this, where he's moving in a different direction or something.
I know he does live healthy. I mean, I gave him organic bath salts and he enjoyed them.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely he takes many bath salts. Yeah.
In a bath, I'm sure.
Yeah. But like I said, he's still a friend. I still like him. He's still great at parties, but he's a terrible business associate. So I wish him a long life. I wish him love and happiness because I don't want anyone to go through life without
exactly. And I think that's basically Satoshi's view when he started out was exactly that. He wants freedom and happiness for all of us, and we now have the tools to do it. We just need to take the power at our hands and go forward and keep with it. Don't get discouraged. Keep moving forward. Yeah. Invest what you can afford to lose, and
no more.
And no more.
You know who I wish I would have met before he passed away is Hal Finney.
Oh yes.
I
actually had a conversation with him about a year before he died. Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace. I know he had his a part of his body, I think his brain, cryogenically frozen.
ALS it'll get you, man.
But I'm a runner too, and I just recently, over the last 2 years, had learned about his story and his fight, and just what he did. He received the first Bitcoin transaction from Satoshi. Yep. And I mean, the man was brilliant. He was the second at PGP to Phil Zimmerman, and I wish I would have spent time with him. And he was in the Southwest too. I think wasn't he?
He's down. He's down the Southwest. He was down the Southwest. And just by the way, we could have him back one day because he was cryogenically frozen in Arizona. His body is not, and him and his wife. Well, his wife's still alive, but they both purchased the cryogen, moved his body. The team was there to take him because, of course, Bitcoin had kind of taken off, and they had a ton of it.
Hopefully, technology can advance to the point where I could one day have a conversation with him.
Yeah, so it could happen.
I long for that day because that's my one regret with Bitcoin is I would have loved to speak to Hal.
Yeah, wow. My conversation was extremely short and was technical, so I wish I would have. Because I didn't know he was.
He hit it well.
Yeah,
this has definitely been a very interesting show for sure.
It doesn't meet our standard. Okay, good.
Hell yeah.
All right, perfect.
So we will do some more interviews, and stay tuned for those on YouTube. And this Facebook Live video will be on YouTube too. So check out thecryptoshow.com, all of our social media, and promether.com.
Yep, promether.com. And you guys can reach me directly at, I guess I should probably give you our corporate email because otherwise my operations manager will get mad at me, but contact@promether.com. And we'll be here for the next 4 days at DEF CON. So we're throwing a party tomorrow at noon at the Caesars. It's in the Forum Tower in room 5416. It's free, open bar. It starts at noon. And we have Whitey Cracker, Dual Core, and Fuzzy Knop all performing. So please come on by. Free booze for 2.5 hours. We'd love to have you there.
And check out Phoenix Crypto so you can find out about their ATMs and the training classes if you don't know very much about Bitcoin. But also in your book.
Yeah, my book is going to be out. My website's being built right now. It should have been up, we had some things, but it will be on cryptocurtiscrane.com. But it's not up yet, but it will be there probably by tomorrow, hopefully.
All right. Are there any other things that we didn't cover that are in the book that are really going to be kind of a surprise?
No,
other than what we.
Well, you know what?
I mean, did you actually cover those statistics in your book?
No, I didn't.
See, you got to hear something here that you're not going to hear in the book.
Everything I almost said here is either just touched on. I had to be very careful on what I said, and I didn't want to create FUD, right. But like what I'm doing here is more saying my point of view and what I went through. And so a lot of things I said that is not in the book. Some of it is, some I go more detail about. But there's there is a heck of a lot more to the Silk Road than 99% of the people know about.
Yeah. So awesome. Check it out. Peace.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.